Yes, it seems that it is unbelievable that a person can be asymptomatic of the herpes virus if they used to get outbreaks every so often while on the J juice. Now, you have no idea what a person went through when they first started the J juice. Okay, so I've had two testimonies that talked about that they don't experience the symptoms of herpes outbreaks anymore because they went through their healing process right at the get-go, probably right in the beginning. Now, did they experience it right off the bat? I mean, as far as the outbreaks, probably. Okay. I experienced a lot of stuff during my healing process that I had laid dormant for a long time in the beginning of the J juice, and it wasn't fun. I'm telling you, it wasn't fun. But you have no idea what people go through in the beginning when it comes to herpes, as far as them finally having it dormant where you're not symptomatic anymore. And why would a person be asymptomatic after being on J juice? Because J juice is an antibiotic. It's not some specific cure or a drug that is targeting that specific characteristics. No, the person just strengthened their body that targets those specific areas from the herpes virus, herpes simplex 1 and herpes simplex 2, because there's two types of herpes. And so, yeah, I mean, I had people tell me when they were on the J juice and they stopped. They didn't stop doing the J juice. I know that because they're not doing it. They're doing other stuff. But they were experiencing major outbreaks during the healing process in the beginning a couple of years ago when I first rolled this out. I had a lot of people that were giving me feedback, and they were kind of pissed. They're like, damn, I had this under control with drugs or with whatever else I was doing, the exercise and all of that, and now I'm seeing these symptoms exhibit and rear their ugly heads again. And I told her, yeah, if you have outbreaks, if you have herpes where you were tested positive and you had outbreaks where you had to get treated and all that stuff, and then now you have it under control, in remission, whatever you want to call it, and then you do the J juice, it's going to come back and haunt you until it's finally purged out of your body. And because that's what it is, they're antibodies. Okay. And then you strengthen those weaknesses that the herpes virus goes and targets. But I can't tell you how long you're going to be dealing with outbreaks. Some of you have it really bad. Some of you, I've heard somebody been on Valtrex. It's a herpes medicine, where when they got off it, they had a major outbreak. And so they had to get back on the Valtrex because that's what kept it under control. But then they had to finally get off of the Valtrex, and now they're just kind of doing whatever they do, and they're steadily aging, of course. But when you take drugs to keep certain virus symptoms under control, all you're doing is suppressing the healing portion of your body, trying to purge it out. You haven't gotten rid of it, as far as the weaknesses, and you haven't got rid of the excess antibodies, because that's really what it is. It's the excess antibodies that agglutinate. And then, you get these drugs and other things that will kind of change up the biochemistry a bit to then not have you experience those outbreaks. But then you start seeing systematic degradation of your body. Okay, because you don't escape consequences when you suppress your immune system, or when you don't change up your biochemistry. Because right now, some of you only get the outbreaks when it's during your period, when it's during stress times, when it's during change of season. And that means that you're relatively strong. So in between the adaptation process, you don't really experience outbreaks. But what happens is when you experience more outbreaks, shorter times in between, it means your body is becoming progressively weaker. When you have longer times in between your outbreaks, it means that your body's relatively strong, your biochemistry is keeping it at bay. You're never going to get rid of the antibodies, but you can lessen the amount so it doesn't rear its ugly head every so often. But people are finding that they are seeing shorter times in between the outbreaks because their body is progressively becoming weaker. So when you're on the J juice, you're going to be bringing everything to surface. So you're going to have a shorter time in between outbreaks. because the body is going through a biochemical change and it's trying to systematically heal your body. And you might be going through other healing symptoms, you know, in concert with also the outbreak. So you could be dealing with so many issues while you're going through. I mean, it's going to be hell for some of you. I've had a lady that had a lot of eczema. She was on a protocol and she was dealing with major outbreak of eczema while on the protocol. Obviously, the J juice is not poisonous. It doesn't have any viruses in it. It's not causing anybody's issues. But people have things that are so deep below the surface and it's coming to surface. And so she couldn't handle the amount of eczema that's coming to surface and she wasn't ready to heal. So she just stopped doing the J juice protocol and went back to her old lifestyle and stayed with what she was used to. Yes, the symptoms lessened, which means that she stopped the healing process, which means that she will go down that systematic degradation because you don't escape consequences when you don't deal with the root cause. Okay, so I know it seems unbelievable because people can't even fathom that you could have something and experience something for such a long time, and then all of a sudden, not really, but then you go on J juice and everyone's all freaking out about J juice and think I'm a liar, that I'm saying all that, making up all these testimonies. But no, I went through the yeast infections way in the beginning. I had those way back when I was like, 18 and 19. Okay, and then finally, my body got used to those yeast infections and the body finally went into homeostasis. Okay, and so I didn't experience those yeast infections for a very long time until I started doing the J juice and started detoxing. Okay, but then I stopped the detoxing and then get on the J juice, and then all of those yeast infections came to surface, and it was like, oh my God, it sucks. But I knew I had to deal with it. And so I dealt with it. And yeah, in the beginning, I was doing all these things, as far as trying to deal with the pain and do the J juice at the same time. And now we know that we can use the J juice, up there in all orifices. Now, if the J juice doesn't give you the relief, then you can use whatever you need to get to use to handle your healing process and do J juice at the same time. So you can mix in allopathic and holistic if you have to. But see if the J juice, up there works first to heal you faster. Because if you do experience relief with the J juice and having a yeast infection or anything else that happens, okay, that means that the body is really in tune to heal very quickly, and you're lucky if you don't feel pain and you're doing the J juice at the same time or using it as a topical or an internal as far as orifices. But as far as herpes, I can't tell you if the J juice topically is going to heal you faster. I just know that you're going to be dealing with it and you just got to. Okay, it's going to suck, but it's temporary. It's not forever. Okay, but you have to handle and deal with the things that which has caused you pain and misery and caused you diagnosis, because every single time your body goes through an outbreak, it further weakens you. Okay, if you're not bringing in the right chemistry to actually heal. Okay, so the more that you suppress your healing process, the weaker you become. So I can appreciate someone incredulous and non-believing, disbelieving this testimonies and information because of what we're used to dealing with and what we're used to being, what we're used to hearing and what we're used to seeing and experiencing. But I'm telling you, J juice is nothing like anything out there that you've ever seen. It's nothing like anything out there that you've ever seen, and you may have to suspend disbelief. Okay, but that is difficult for those that don't want to feel pain, because if you're so used to suppressing your healing, suppressing the pain, this would not be something that you'd want to introduce until you're actually ready to accept that yes, you're going to have to feel pain to heal. And if that will never ever be your purview and you never accept that, then there's nothing about J juice you'll ever accept. So it would be not surprising that you don't believe my information, and I'm okay with that. You don't have to do the J juice. Just go back in the system, take all the drugs if you have the herpes. Do whatever you got to do to keep it at bay as far as exercises and all of your little organic foods that don't really work very well, obviously, because look at the guy Ram Dass. He is like the 1960s guru that's taking all these psychedelics to help deal with mental disorders or mental illness or whatever it is that he was promoting out back then. He's 88 and he passed away. So, you know, these gurus that are promoting all of these psychedelic, psychoactive drugs and whatever, they're passing away. They're dropping like flies. So obviously their methodologies only work temporarily. So that's not the purview of J-juice. It's only work temporarily. The purview of J-juice is to actually reverse the aging process. But you have to bring in the right amount of nutrients. And actually, it's not even the right amount. It's like a chemistry that the body then will determine how much it absorbs and how much it releases. And then you got to deal with pain. And you got to stay on a temporary diet. So that way you're not throwing the balance off too much because you're thinking like, oh, garlic is so wonderful. And you're taking like 10 pounds of garlic every day. You know, no, the whole thing with the recipe or the diet is to understand what is acidic and what is, you know, full of sweets. So it's acidic. And what is like antibiotic, and try to keep a very bland diet, bring in the acids with the J juice, bring in the nutrients with the J juice, bring in the electrolytes with the J juice, and then let the body determine what it needs to prioritize first. You're not going to be dictating what gets healed. Now your body is finally going to do what it's supposed to do, what it's meant to do, that you never let it do because you were under the impression that you're not supposed to feel pain. Okay? So I feel bad for those that don't believe this information. I feel bad for them because they will suffer. Anyone that doesn't believe the J juice will suffer in the system. And so if you're 20 years old and you don't believe this information, then you're going to have to hit the wall at some point. And I got to deal with your attitude until you hit the wall. It sucks for me because it means that I have a lot more work to do, but that's okay because nowadays kids are hitting the wall sooner, and so it may not be that long before kids do hit the wall, and then they start listening to me because they realize that where they're going to end up is like their parents. They're not going to have it as easy as their parents. Some parents don't hit the wall until they're like they're 50 or 60 or 70 to where it warrants somebody to be like, whoa, what the hell? Okay. And so so you may hit the wall, 20-year-old, when you're 30. Okay, but that's 10 years of you going like, oh, crazy, and I'm going to go and, you know, do all my drugs and go drink and go hang out and party and eat whatever the hell I want, which is fine, but you already have predispositions. You already have weaknesses that you inherited from your parents, and you have no idea when they're going to trigger. And then you have new viruses coming into the mix that you have to deal with, and you're already at a disadvantage. You're already at a deficit. So it's just a matter of time before you 20-year-olds that don't believe my information is going to hit the wall and be faced with 2 decisions or 3 decisions. Cannabis, chemotherapy, or J juice. Okay, that's just the reality. So it's, you know, it's your own funeral if you don't believe my information. But nobody's dying on J juice unless they decide that they don't want to do it and they don't want to bring it in at the level that they should. And so yeah, but J juice is not poisonous. Okay, and it has all the right chemistry to deal with your fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And then John says, I did some research. Cannabis does not mitigate the pain I experienced from the J juice. Oh yeah. You know what's interesting? Somebody, and the person smoked that pot again, and they're on the J juice and they don't feel any high from it at all whatsoever. So once you get to a certain point, you guys, pot's not going to work for you. It's not going to make you feel high, and it's not going to help with your pain, like you just said, John. And so at some point, the drugs out there that people get high off of are not going to give you the same kind of experience. When you do the J juice, you're going to be working in the world of life. When you're getting high on drugs and alcohol and all that stuff, you know, it's going to have a very different effect on a body that has an imbalance in their biochemistry. Okay? I have no desire for alcohol, no desire for drugs, no desire for anything that's going to raise up my adrenaline. And so, I get high on life. I get high on problem solving, and understanding how everything works. Understanding people. Right, Johnny, it makes you feel crappy. You know, I mean, yeah, I have no desire to do anything that alters my biochemistry. I mean, just the fact that when I have to go from one environment to another and I get exposed to viruses or pathogens, I guess, but not really pathogens, just a change in the fluctuations of bacteria and all that, it's a trip just to even feel the difference. It's a trip to watch the body go through what it needs to go through to get rid of excess. And then when the body gets stronger, like yesterday I was feeling like, I remember, I think it was the 21st, the day that I got my period. That day I just felt like shit. But it wasn't like a bad shit. It was more like I still went to breakfast, even though I was really, really like crampy and constipated. I felt like I was blocked up and everything. And that's when I drank my J juice that day too. And I just felt like, but I was like, but I'm still going to do this. So I still went out to dinner too that day. And I still did a bunch of stuff. But I did the J juice and I did some waterfalls, felt a lot better. And so, but even then after that, and then yesterday I felt like, kind of weird. But then I started feeling stronger. Okay, so, I'm going through the period, being exposed to viruses. So when you are, for women, when you are going through menstruation, you are at a lowered immune state. So you are more susceptible to things that are out there. So I noticed when my immune system took a dip just because of those two things happening simultaneously. I'm sure that I was exposed to a virus. And I'm sure that, yes, my period definitely lowered my immune system to such an extent where it left me kind of open. But I was still strong enough to fight and withstand all that. So the fact that today, and of course I ate when I was feeling like, I was eating a lot. And so when you eat, you bring yourself nutrients. And when you're healed and sealed, that's how you're going to make yourself stronger during different evolutionary changes. Because that's what change of the season, change of the environment, it's evolution. We go through very small, different evolutionary changes. Either you evolve in a higher form or you devolve in a lower form. And when you are aging, you are devolving. Then that's what aging is devolving, degrading. And then the baser instincts come out, the caveman mentality comes out. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that we have a certain population that has those characteristics. And then you see people doing things that are illegal and criminal and all of that. And so, so if we can evolve instead of devolve, we would have a much more peaceful society. Okay. And so right now I feel like my brain is enhancing. I feel something slightly in the background of my brain, but it's not like a pain. It's like I feel there's something going on. There is an evolution going on in my brain right now as we speak. Being exposed to that virus, going through my own reproductive menses and all that. Of course, we're on the precipice. Well, we're right there at this winter solstice. So, and we're coming up to 2020, which has its own stuff. Hey, Joel, nice to see you too. And so there's a lot going to be going on this next year. And I already feel an evolutionary change, a leap within me. And so the only way you guys are going to deal with a great evolutionary leap or evolutionary upgrade is if you heal the weaknesses. If you understand that you have to feel all the different symptoms that have been listed out in the allopathic holistic world, every single thing that you've ever dealt with, you're going to have to deal with. And at some point, potentially, you'll never have to deal with it again. And one of the biggest things is the herpes. Those of you that get outbreaks that are either very few and far between, but you have it, or they're shorter in duration in between. And it sucks because as you get older and you're degrading, they happen more and more, and they're taking in more antibiotics. And so at some point then with the J juice, you'll have longer durations in between to where then they are non-existent. Okay, so it's going to then reverse. Because right now, when you get exposed to a virus and you have a weak body, you get the virus and then you get it under control and you don't see it very often except for maybe twice a year, you get it. And then as you get older, if you're old enough, let's say in your 60s, and you can see a pattern, you start seeing your outbreaks have shorter times in between as you get older. But then with the J juice, you'll get the outbreaks, and there'll be very, very short times in between, and then you'll get longer times in between, and then longer and longer to where then they're non-existent. And so you reverse the outbreak experience from being a shorter time in between to a very long time in between and to then non-existent. And that's the same thing with potentially the period too, which I don't know. We'll see. I haven't really figured that one out yet because it's still too early to say. But if you have dealt with menopause and then you're doing the J juice and then you start feeling reproductive signals as if you were about to get your period and you start spotting, then you start seeing those characteristics of menses come to surface. And then you'll start seeing the characteristics of during the time that you started going off your period, then you started getting the hot flashes and all the things that would signal you that menopause is coming, but you'll then re-experience that, and then you'll be on your period, and then at some point will you experience amenorrhea where there's no period. That's what I've yet to prove. Okay, so but I've noticed that I'm having some pretty interesting symptoms around my period, and they're not like, I mean, I'm getting my period earlier, okay, 4 days earlier than the last. The only thing that's major is maybe I need to take a nap every so often, and maybe a little bit sensitive here and there, and then the constipation every so often, or the hunger. But it's nothing like what I've ever experienced before. But having your period means that the body is still sensing some imperfections, and it has that as an insurance policy. So when a girl doesn't get a period till she's 19, the body doesn't sense that she's in danger of having extinction happen. So that's why some girls don't get their period at 19. But we don't see that very often. Now girls are getting their period at a very younger age, and they're developing sooner. Okay, so gone are those days where we have girls that are like 19 years old and haven't gotten their period until the doctor goes in and gives her hormones and triggers that. So anyways, but we'll see. I mean, we have people that are experiencing what I'm experiencing, and there's like 28 days in between, or 27, or it's just kind of all kind of weird. And you guys, if you're open to talk about, your experience with it, let us know. Okay. So yeah, this is just it's an exciting time with this J juice. It really is. Believe me, I never anticipated all of this. I've never anticipated all this. I would never anticipate that I'll be speaking about herpes or about any of these types of symptoms that people experience, and saying that you won't ever experience it again if you stay on the J juice long enough. Okay, but you have to go through the fire. You can't just assume that you're not going to get herpes after the first 2 or 3 weeks, that you're going to be done with your herpes stuff. No, you're going to have to deal with it, and then potentially earn. You have to potentially earn your what is this? Oh, Christina. Earn your not getting the herpes. So I just want to make sure that all of you guys understand that you're going to have to earn it. You're going to have to go through the fire to get to the peace. And it's not easy because, you have to explain to your friends and family that you're going to have to experience symptoms and not to worry. But if you, some things you just can't hide from your family, especially if they live right next to you or right in your house. So it's best if you have people that you're living with that are supporting you through this, that they understand what you're doing. If they don't support you, it's going to be that much harder. But then what you can do is you can tell them, if you feel that I'm in danger in any way, call the doctor. And then you'll go to the doctor, you'll get all your tests done, everything will come out normal. Or here's the thing, here's a kicker. If you have the herpes virus or any kind of virus in you that's in like remission or lay dormant, and then you do the J juice, and now you're seeing outbreaks come up, and then you go get tested, you're going to come up positive, because you're now bringing up to surface all those antibodies, those things that were held at bay by your immune system. Now your immune system is going to bring to surface and deal with them, and then purge them out. But in order for them to be purged out, they have to come to surface and get on the radar. That's why when someone hasn't experienced herpes outbreak in a long time because they have it under control, and they do the J juice, and now it's coming to surface, yes, you're going to be communicable. Yes, you're going to come up positive, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the natural course of events. Okay? At some point, you will then test negative for it. I'm wondering if those that that did say that they don't experience the outbreaks, if they got tested, would it come up positive or negative? So that's something to think about. Okay, is to test yourself prior to the J juice as far as those viruses that you know about. And if you come up negative and then you do the J juice and you see outbreaks, you come up positive and then you do the J juice, and then for a long enough time where you don't see any outbreaks anymore, will you then come up negative? And I can bet you'll come up negative. Okay, so the J juice doesn't give you herpes. Okay, it just brings it to surface, that which has been pushed deep down. And yeah, you can be strong, but remember, as soon as your body weakens, then those antibodies for those specific viruses will agglutinate. Agglutination is when they kind of merge together and they become that disease, and you start being symptomatic. When they don't agglutinate, it means there's enough space in between them that they're not going to turn into a symptom. But as soon as they start agglutinating, that's when the symptoms happen. That's the whole thing with antibodies. That's why they want to know if you have enough protection, and that's why they say get a vaccine and then or do a titer test to see how many antibodies you have, and do you have enough to then prove you have enough protection against that major virus in the environment. Okay, so titer tests or the vaccines are an acceptable form of proof you have protection to the federal government if there's a public health issue going on in that geographical area. Okay, so this is just one of the things, and this is like such a taboo subject. People don't want to talk about freaking herpes. It's like, oh my God, that's such a, but no, everybody's exposed to it. There is nobody on this transmission that has not been exposed to herpes in some way. Everybody's exposed to herpes. Now, how you react to the virus is relative to your biochemistry, how strong or how weak you are. So no, it's not a dirty disease. No, you're not dirty or clean if you've been exposed to herpes. Everybody's been exposed to herpes in some way, shape or form. Because even a baby can get those antibodies from the mother. Okay? Because that's called natural immunity. You inherit every single gene from your parents. Now, if the mother actually has an outbreak during that time, then yeah, those symptoms will come to surface. But you've inherited everything from your parents. If your parents, have it, or they've been exposed to it, you're gonna have it, be exposed to it. It's just, so it's not a big deal. Just like HPV, the human papillomavirus, or herpes virus, every single virus, every STD. If you've ever exposed yourself to anybody, literally and figuratively, okay, you are going to have the exposure, and your biochemistry will determine if you're symptomatic or asymptomatic. And so now with the J juice is you're going to now preemptively bring up everything that has been locked deep inside due to your biochemistry. Good morning, or hello everybody. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Michelle. And then you will deal with it. And then you'll never have to deal with it again, because now you'll strengthen every single weakness. Okay? So that's why I say, you guys, don't mix too much of your pills, powders, supplements, and detoxes and antibiotics unless you're under a doctor's care and they told you have to do this antibiotic, you have to do this prescription drug, which fine. Do what your doctor tells you, and then drink a shiz ton of J juice. Okay? J juice is food. It is not poison. It will work with whatever it is that you have. And then you're also keeping with your doctor's wishes by doing their prescription drugs. But anything else that you're doing while on the J juice that is not recommended by a doctor, you don't want to undermine. You don't want to undermine yourself. Okay? Because it's not necessary that you do that supplement. It's not necessary that you do that detox, or that pill, or that detox, or that powder, or that supplement, or that shake. Okay? All you really need is the diet and the J juice. Some of you are mixing the keto diet and the J juice. Okay, fine. I'm not going to argue too much with what you eat, as long as you're not overdoing it with the keto diet. Because if you have a high acidic body, which most people do, and then you're doing the keto diet and you're bringing a lot of red meat, and your body already has stagnation, that red meat is going to really, really clog you up. You want to make it easy for your body as possible. And if you're doing a keto diet and you're bringing in all of this stuff that is so acidic, and the J juice is acidic, and you still have to heal, and you still have to push through all that compacted poop that's in your colon and in your 20 feet of intestine, you want to make it easy. So that's why it's a bland diet with only chicken as the meat. Okay, we try not to do too much of the carbs, but I understand if you do a light keto diet but do a lot of J juice, okay. But I know when people have cravings and they have imbalances, they tend to go overboard, even with eating. Like, oh yeah, I'm doing the J juice, but I'm telling you, you're not drinking enough J juice to really make it worth you eating that much of the keto diet. If you're doing the keto diet, then you'd have it like on like little tiny portions with a bunch of J juice. But hey, with the J juice diet, protocol diet, you can have as much chicken as you want, much eggs. But if you feel that you're allergic to eggs, if you're told that, then don't do the eggs. If you feel the eggs have done, if you feel that you have like kidney stones or things that you think the eggs are giving you an adverse reaction for whatever reason, then stay away from certain foods except for the J juice. Okay? But the diet is so diverse when you think about it that you could get away with just doing the J juice and the diet. Because nobody really needs right now on the J juice red meat unless they really have to. The red meat is for when you're healed and sealed and your body can handle that advanced data pack. Because red meat has everything. It has the fatty acid, it has the amino acid, it has the prohormones, and it has the minerals. And it has all the nutrients. It has the bacteria. It has the viruses too. It's an advanced data pack. Pork, meat, all of that, seafood, all has advanced data in it. But if you are not healed and sealed and you have weaknesses, all that advanced data could work against you. So first heal and seal, then you can enjoy the advanced data packs out there, whether it's processed food, meat, milk, whatever. Okay? So anyways, yeah, don't undermine your healing process by trying to apply a different diet to J juice. But some people are, and I get it, and I'm fine with it. Just know that it's going to take you longer. But if you happen to get major results, then that's great. That's great. I hope you do. But no matter what, drink as much J juice as you can, because the specific measurable result is you see the fat melt off you. That lactic acid melts that fat off you, along with the prohormones, which is the micro macro nutrition, the electrolytes, the salt, the water falls. Okay? And you start seeing a difference. If you don't see a difference in your weight on J juice after a month of really drinking it like that, then you're not drinking enough of it, or you're undermining yourself with the other foods that are off the diet. Because I'm telling you, I saw a dramatic change in my weight and my water weight, my fat and my water weight in the first couple weeks, first month. So if you don't see a change in your weight, whether it's gaining weight or losing weight, well, with gaining weight it might be a little bit harder. It might take a bit longer. And some of you that are losing weight, you're going to lose more until you get your hormones and your biochemistry regulated, and then you start gaining weight if you're underweight. If you're overweight, you'll see a dramatic difference in the first month, if not sooner. But some of you have a lot more to overcome, and so maybe you don't see that right away, and I don't know what your lifestyle is or what your belief system is, so I can't tell you that you're going to see the results right away. But if you stay with the protocol, you're going to see results pretty quickly. But you got to stay away from all the other supplements. You got to stay from the other MLMs, all that stuff. You really have to stay with the J juice protocol. If not, there's no way that you're going to see the benefits as quick as you might, as somebody else might who's staying on the protocol with the exact same situation. Not exactly, because everyone's a bit different, but it's prudent to stay with the blueprint if possible. Okay. So that's what's available, is not to be asymptomatic without being on drugs or remedies in the holistic market. That is the whole point of J juice. Reverse the aging process and be asymptomatic. However, when you do go through fluctuations in the environment, or there's new viruses being introduced because of flu season, and you're around people who are sick and weak, you'll feel the difference in the changing environment, but it's not going to take you down to where you're diagnosable. That's the thing, is once you get diagnosed or you start seeing major symptoms and you're like, oh my God, that's when you know you're really weak. So it's going to be interesting to see how you guys handle the world when you're healed and sealed. And yeah, it's, I can't even really put the right words to what it's like to be on this end of it. It's yeah. There's not enough good words. There's not enough anything to say what it's like to be on this end of it. Because, yeah, it's a trip. So anyways, just do the J juice. Just stay with it. Try to prioritize this and lessen the amount of social engagements and let people know in your world that what you're doing, and you're not going to be as available as you used to. Try not to be the person everybody goes to in your world, because if you start being there for everybody else and you're not there for yourself, how are you going to heal? Sometimes you got to be selfish. Be selfish. Because like anything, if you don't put the mask over yourself to get the oxygen, there's no way you're going to save your kid that's right next to you. I mean, obviously make sure your kids are a priority, but you are a priority too. And you can't help your kid if you can't help yourself. You can't help your family if you can't help yourself. You can't help anybody on Facebook if you can't even help yourself. Help yourself first, and then the world will then be receptive to your energy. Or not, and then that's their own problem, and you don't have to deal with them. All right, I'm gonna do my thing, but I just wanted to respond to someone's disbelief that you could actually be asymptomatic after being symptomatic with herpes. And so J-Juice can really give you that opportunity to have that peace and that freedom that I don't think most of you ever really experienced before, because it's a freedom. I'm telling you, I feel so free from all of that fear and the potential of triggering something. I don't have that fear anymore. And that's what you guys need to have as far as that opportunity. All right. Happy day. Bye.